In the broad expanse of world history, the story of Russian émigrés in China stands out as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring power of cultural exchange. This journey, marked by sweeping geopolitical changes and personal transformations, begins in the 19th century, a time when the Russian Empire was rapidly expanding eastward, reaching toward the Pacific and the vast, mysterious lands that lay beyond. The foundation of Vladivostok in 1860 marked an ambitious new frontier for Russia. Nestled on the shores of the Pacific, this city was more than just a military outpost. It was a gateway, a symbol of Russia's aspirations in East Asia. As the empire's borders stretched, so too did its influence, and the once rigid lines dividing nations began to blur. This era of exploration and expansion set the stage for an unprecedented movement of people, ideas, and cultures across the borders of Russia and China. Integral to this transformation was the construction of the Chinese Eastern Railway, a marvel of engineering and a bold diplomatic maneuver. This railway didn't just connect cities, it connected destinies. Russian engineers, laborers, and merchants traveled east, drawn by the promise of opportunity and a new life. They settled in places like Harbin, a city that quickly became a vibrant crossroads where Russian and Chinese cultures intermingled. Harbin's streets echoed with the sounds of Russian conversation, its skyline dotted with the onion domes of Orthodox churches, and its markets filled with the scent of fresh-baked rye bread and pastries, a fusion of culinary traditions that persists to this day. As we move into the early 20th century, the scene shifts dramatically. The Russian Revolution of 1917 sent shockwaves throughout the Russian Empire, upending centuries of tradition and forcing countless families to flee their homeland in search of safety. For many, China was a beacon of hope. Harbin, already home to a thriving Russian community, became a sanctuary for those escaping the chaos. The city blossomed into a hub of Russian culture, bustling cafés where émigrés debated literature and politics, schools that taught Tolstoy and Pushkin, and churches where the faithful gathered to maintain their spiritual traditions far from home. In these years, Harbin was often called the Moscow of the East. Russian became the language of the streets, and the city's architecture reflected a European sensibility, with stately facades and ornate detailing reminiscent of St. Petersburg. Yet, even as these émigrés sought to recreate a piece of their lost homeland, they could not help but be influenced by their new environment. Chinese neighbors, markets, and festivals became familiar aspects of daily life, and the boundaries between us and them grew increasingly fluid. But history is rarely static, and the arrival of the Japanese in Manchuria in 1931 brought new challenges and uncertainties. The Japanese occupation complicated allegiances and forced difficult choices upon the Russian community. Some chose to assimilate more deeply into Chinese society, learning the language and adopting local customs. Others clung tightly to their Russian identity, wary of losing their heritage in a time of upheaval. The city's Russian Orthodox churches remained steadfast centers of community, offering spiritual solace and a sense of continuity amid the uncertainty. World War II added yet another layer of complexity. The shifting tides of war meant that Russians in China found themselves caught between the competing interests of the Soviet Union, Japan, and China. Some were recruited as translators, engineers, or advisors. Others were viewed with suspicion and faced internment or forced repatriation. Through it all, the Russian community demonstrated remarkable adaptability, navigating alliances, forming new networks, and finding ways to survive in a rapidly changing world. When the People's Republic of China was established in 1949, a new era dawned. The communist government's focus on national unity and cultural homogeneity placed immense pressure on minority communities, including the Russians. Many chose to leave, seeking new homes in Australia, the United States, or even braving a return to the Soviet Union. For those who stayed, assimilation often became a necessity. Russian language use declined, and Mandarin became the lingua franca of daily life. Yet, even as the community blended into the broader fabric of Chinese society, traces of Russian heritage endured. One of the most profound legacies of the Russian presence in China is found in the stories of mixed marriages. As Russian émigrés married local Chinese, they gave rise to a new generation, children who embodied the fusion of two rich cultural traditions. These individuals often grew up speaking Mandarin, attending Chinese schools, and celebrating Chinese festivals, while also learning the stories, songs, and recipes of their Russian ancestors. Theirs was a unique blend of identities, at once Chinese and Russian, yet fully themselves. Religion and language remained crucial anchors of identity for many in the Russian community. The Russian Orthodox Church, with its distinctive rituals and liturgical music, served as a bastion of cultural continuity, even as government policies favored secularism and promoted the use of Mandarin. Church congregations continued to gather, passing down traditions from one generation to the next. Over time, however, the pull of assimilation grew stronger, and many descendants of Russian émigrés found themselves fully integrated into Chinese society, their Russian ancestry a cherished but distant memory. Yet, the influence of Russians in China can still be seen and felt today, especially in Harbin. The city's architectural landscape bears unmistakable traces of its Russian past. Stately buildings with ornate facades line the streets, their European elegance a striking contrast to the modern skyline. The famous St. Sophia Cathedral, with its soaring green domes, stands as a testament to the enduring beauty of Russian craftsmanship. These structures are more than just historical relics. They are living reminders of a time when Russian culture thrived in China, shaping the city's identity in ways both subtle and profound. Culinary traditions, too, reveal the enduring impact of Russian émigrés. In Harbin and other cities with Russian heritage, bakeries still turn out loaves of dark rye bread, delicate pastries, and savory piroshki, recipes passed down through generations, now beloved by locals and visitors alike. The flavors of Russia have become part of the regional cuisine, blending seamlessly with Chinese ingredients and techniques. Even today, a bite of a flaky pastry or slice of hearty bread can transport one back in time, evoking memories of bustling markets and family gatherings. In the present day, the descendants of Russian émigrés have largely blended into the broader Chinese population. They go about their lives much like their neighbors, attending school, pursuing careers, and celebrating the milestones of life. Yet, many still honor their heritage, participating in cultural organizations and family traditions that keep the memory of their ancestors alive. Festivals like the Harbin International Ice and Snow Festival, with its Russian-inspired art and architecture, serve as vibrant reminders of this rich cultural legacy. Ultimately, the history of white, blonde Russians in China is a story of movement and adaptation, of loss and renewal. It is a narrative shaped by the forces of geopolitics and the choices of individuals, by the ebb and flow of cultures meeting and merging. Through it all, the community has demonstrated an extraordinary capacity for resilience, finding new ways to thrive, even as the world around them changed beyond recognition. Their legacy lives on in the architecture of Harbin, in the flavors of northern Chinese cuisine, and in the hearts and memories of their descendants. It is a reminder that even in the face of upheaval, the human spirit endures, and that the blending of cultures can give rise to something truly beautiful, a tapestry richer for its diversity and depth. As we reflect on their journey, we are reminded that history is not just a series of events, but a living story, one that continues to unfold with each new generation.